he's like, you Singaporean? No what? I'm like, yes, uncle, I'm Singaporean. He's like, then he looks at his mirror and he goes, but you and I'm just like,
okay. Hey guys, so we're back with my series, Wait, You're Singaporean, and today we have Navin and Necia.
hello.
Do you guys want to start by introducing yourselves and yeah?
All right, I'm Necia Krupp. I am from Singapore. I'm Singaporean American. We are Singaporean American. I have been in the States, was born here and then left for the States when I was 13. Lived there for 10 years. I did high school and college and then moved back to Singapore when I was 23 and I am now going to be 30 this year.
30.
And you?
I'm Navin. Like you said, both of us are American and Singaporean, or Singaporean American either way. And left here when I was 9 and basically lived those formative years in the States, so 9 all the way to 18, all through high school. Came back here, did my 2-year national service, and then went back to the States for uni, and then I'm here playing basketball.
And okay, so there's siblings, if that wasn't already established. You went to local school, right?
Yeah.
Both of you.
I did mainly, and then you were...
I went to CHIJ Katong to begin with, and then for a period of time I went to Tanglin Trust International School, and then went back to local school when finished off my grade 6, primary 6.
And, I was at St. Michael's basically the whole time. And that, I left when I was 9, so I barely even remember the first few years.
Okay, do you remember if you guys were the only non Chinese Indian kid?
That I for sure do. Mine, I remember in Katong, so that's primary 1, 2, 3. And it was just me and this blonde hair, blue-eyed girl. That were the only two different than, obviously, the locals. Definitely knew that I was different. But I think because I had the blonde girl with me, I didn't feel as different.
As outed.
Yeah, as outed. So it was actually not too shabby at Katong.
But kids don't bully or discriminate, but they make those comments,
Sure.
right? So do you remember if there was anything that you remember being that's right?
Yeah, okay, so my hair is normally curly. I just straightened it. So normally my hair is ringlet curls. And especially when I was younger, they'd always be like, oh, it's like Maggi noodles. And, they'd always touch it. They'd also put things in my hair because it can stay. And, but I guess I never looked at it as oh, they're making fun of me. I was still accepted to go and play games with them. And people still I still had friends. But it would be these little small comments. What do they know? Teachers, no. At least not in front of me. Okay. Yeah, teachers, they never. Yeah, at least not in front of me. If I was behind the back, they're like, that black girl. She can't keep her mouth shut in my class.
I feel like I didn't get much of it when I was in school, as a kid, because Navin's an Indian name. I also had really short hair, so they never really saw these type of curls.
Right.
And I had a Singlish accent and everything, so I was
Did you both?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty normal for me then. But then in NS, I came back with the American accent, and I guess a lot more of my black side kicked in while I've been gone. So then that's when you kind of noticed, okay, yeah, I'm a little different. I was in BMT, and I remember coming in and talking to some guys, and they'd say right, and you can tell when somebody's being aggressive and trying to be rude about it, and then you can tell when they're just clueless to what the connotation is. So I remember sitting my bunk down and basically kind of having a talk with 14 other guys about the history of the word and how this why it doesn't make sense to do that and why you wouldn't want to call somebody. Right. We'd actually prefer black or African American if they are American, And then the next day, or maybe a few days later, this one guy happens to have a conversation about something, and then he's full on N-word, not even the other side of it, right? And I'm like, bro, I just talked to you about this. What's going on. And he said, what thing? And at the time, I had no idea what that meant. I'm like, oh,
when he said
yeah, what thing? Basically and what is what he's saying. And we ended up getting into a little scuffle about it. And
so he also said it maliciously.
He said it maliciously that time. And then that was the one time where I'm like, okay, well, this guy is going out of his way to be disrespectful. So we had a little scuffle. And then from that point onwards, he was good with me. He kind of left me alone.
But did you feel NS in general, so this is one story, but did you feel in general it was a place where people were like respectful about your culture and
absolutely. I think a lot of the times they kind of went out of their way to make me even comfortable. Like an example would be like they would have their American-ish accent that they'd speak to me with.
Oh, like they'd switch it up.
They'd switch it up, and they'd give each other shit about, oh, look at you trying to sound all prim and proper now. So no, most of the people that I dealt with, like, they were awesome, and I think like the majority kind of took a liking to me being a little bit different than the opposite side of them.
Did you ever have like a not like identity crisis, but I mean like after being like Singapore, then US, and coming back, where you were like, am I Singaporean? Like, do I feel Singaporean? Like, did you ever have like,
you know, for me, when I first got into NS, like, I have so much of my American side is, you know, like those formative years. So I know I'm very much so American, but I did for a while wonder, like, I felt like maybe I'm like 80% American and 20%. But then I start realizing that I'm just like Singaporean is this diversity. It is this mix. This is me,
right.
You know. And like one thing I don't do is I don't try to like go out of my way to do the Singlish accent and do these things because it's not really natural to me. I mean, and that's like I kind of did it, but yeah, I'm like, you know what? Trying to put on a front to be something that makes other people comfortable isn't really, you know, doing you any service anyways. So I kind of
see. I feel like I'm different than that, right? So I definitely do have I can put on a Singlish accent, maybe not as good as it used to be, but for me, it's not about me trying to act a certain way.
Right.
I think for me, it's just
it
is natural.
Yeah.
And you know, I did actually have a very thick Singlish accent before I left for the
Yeah.
States. You know, when I do speak in Singlish accents, in the Singlish accent, like they really do respond well, and at least I get response well. They're like, oh wow, you are actually Singaporean. I'm like, yeah, actually I am. Like, pink eye see, bro.
The other thing you get a lot in general, like when you're like, oh, when people are like, where are you from? You're like Singaporeans. They're like,
oh yeah, no, always
yes,
double,
absolutely.
triple looks. Like they're fixing their mirror, like looking, and they're like, what part of you are Singaporean? Like, yeah, no, definitely gets questioned. No one ever is just like, okay, I believe you. Like, never once. So they're like, oh yeah, totally. So.
Do you have any stories of times that you were like questioned, or like people didn't believe you, or people said stuff about you being Singaporean that like maybe the wrong way?
Kind of. I had, like, when I first came here, like I came back to play basketball, and the league that I play in, they have 3 imports that you're allowed to bring in, and then locals. But Singapore being so tough on how they give up their passports, it's usually like they're the one team that actually has straight locals, whereas other teams, let's say like the Philippines, for example, they have a lot of like Americans that just have the Filipino passport as well. So when I first came back, like some of the guys didn't know me. They're like, oh, like, are you PR? Like, are you? I'm like, no, like I did NS, and it's like, but like, are you? Like, how'd you end up here? Like, who's your parents? Like, what's going on? I'm like,
How did you end up here?
brother, my mom's Singaporean. I'm from here. Like, I was born here. I went to look like they don't really grasp it until, like she says, I literally have to like
Be like here.
like.
There it is. It's also on for easy accent.
Yeah, like I got the flip down.
I
I also feel really proud about being different and still having, you know, like this is home. It always will be.
Mm-hmm. When I first moved back here in 2016, getting in a taxi and, you know, with my curly hair and me just being me, and, you know, taxi driver's like talking to me and like, where are you from? This and that. And obviously I'm like, yeah, I'm from Singapore. I'm American. And he's like, you Singaporean? You know what? I'm like, yes, uncle, I'm Singaporean. He's like, then he looks at his mirror and he goes, but you. And I'm just like, sorry, what?
Oh God!
It just rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
too.
and
Like,
it's just, but it just, you know, and I was just like, it took me a second because, you know, in America, heck no, people are not just gonna, easily say things like that. So I was just like, okay, uncle, you're not supposed to say. And I was like, I understand, you know, he is older and he was from that older generation. Yeah. So I wasn't going into defense mode. It's more of a learning curve for him. And so I was like, you're not supposed to say that word, you know. I was like, yes, I am Black. That is what, you know, you call us, if that is what you want to say. But yes, this is, and then that's how I explained to him, like, you know, this is Singapore. Like, Singaporeans are no longer just Malay, Chinese, and Indian, like I said before, you know. So instantly he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, no, it's okay. And like, nice. It was really good that he understood where I was coming from, apologized as he didn't know better.
I think people are like more woke in general, I'd say. But you think, like, especially a few years ago, it was like a thing that would just be thrown around randomly and unnecessarily. Like, did you realize how Singaporean you really were when you were in the US?
When we moved to the States, like something as simple as like taking your shoes off and you go to somebody's house, right? Or calling people auntie and uncle as a like.
Did you like go to someone's house and be like, hi auntie? And they're like, wow.
Yeah, no, for sure. They'd be like,
they like ask my parents, they're like, why are your kids calling me auntie and uncle? And my parents have to explain to them that that's just how we used to call respect. And because they're like, oh no, you can just call me Betty. And I'm like, nope, I can't.
Betty,
like
I
it
can't.
literally just doesn't come out. Like I have to say Auntie Betty.
Well, did you ever have like stories, like experiences in like the US where like you'd be eating something that's maybe more like Singaporean and like people are like, what the hell is that?
like these friends have never had any type of Singaporean food. And I remember they'd spend the night, we were maybe 6th grade, something like that. And I made prata in the morning. Like, we had like this frozen ones.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good. Yeah.
And to this day, they're like, dog, remember that one morning where you made those little pancake breads?
Pancake breads.
Little pancake bread.
Pancake bread.
So, yeah.
So they loved it.
Yeah.
They loved it.
No, they loved it. I think all of our friends have definitely come into our home and eaten my mom's food or eaten food that we've, my mom has bought from Lily's, which is like this Asian market that she found. They all love it.
Yeah. Okay, that's all that I want to talk to you about. Any other things you wanted to add, stories?
No, I think you did really good.
This was
That
fun.
was really
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
great question.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having
Okay,
us.
well then that's all for today. You guys can. What's your IG handle?
At Navin Crump, so NAVINCRUMP.
And
mine is my middle name. It's Shivani Crump. So SHIVANICRUMP.
and I'm __ Eduardo EDOARDO. See you guys next time. Bye.